Hey guys, welcome back to Sessions with System and Soul. I'm Mackenzie. I'm here with Benj, and we've got a special kind of episode today. We're going to share some hot takes. Hot takes are things that we've consumed week over week, podcasts, videos, books. We're all about the leadership content. We're all about the business books. And so we talk about these things all the time, and we thought you would benefit from hearing some of what we're reading, what we're listening to, and maybe even forming a perspective on it for yourself. But we're showing up. I've got something to share with Benj. Benj has something to share with me. I have no idea what we're about to talk about, but we're gonna spend the next few minutes sharing some content and chatting through it. Benj, what in the world do you have for us today?
Well, I've got a hot take that you probably won't think is much of a hot take, but I think some people will. So I've been fascinated by this book that's written about this guy named Bill Campbell, and Bill Campbell was like the silent CEO whisper of the Silicon Valley, like as the Silicon Valley was becoming a thing. So he worked with Marissa Mayer at Yahoo. Steve Jobs, him and Steve were very. This was like Steve Jobs' coach, right? The co-founders of Google, and then Eric Schmidt, the CEO, Jeff Bezos, like the who's who, Jack Dorsey, Sheryl Sandberg, like whoever you've heard of in Silicon Valley. Like Bill was like the wizard behind the curtain, right? And so I'm reading this book about him because he was very like he did not want to be famous. He didn't think anything of himself. He was just a great kind of coach and thinking partner. But so I'm reading, and then it got to like his management philosophy, right? And this is where it starts. Okay. Like you could think about, what do you want to think about when we think about management philosophy? And you're thinking about these companies out there. Like I'm thinking it's going to go to something around vision or strategy or recruiting, alignment, whatever. Listen to this. Bill had us pay close attention to running meetings well. Get the one-on-one right and get the staff meeting right were his top priorities and most important management principle. I was shocked to hear that. I wasn't shocked because I feel like that's been great. Like we've been talking about that. Like if you can we've been saying your one-on-ones and your weekly syncs, but I understand why he's saying the staff. I think staff meeting, he's saying like an all staff.
Yeah.
But either way, like, and then what it goes into, and he starts talking about how he kicks off his staff meetings. And this staff meeting is like his team meeting, or his leadership team meetings. He would always have you start with, he doesn't call it this, but a personal check-in, a highlight from last week. And sometimes they would be extended. And if you went on a trip, you had to give like a trip report back to the team.
Like bring the slide deck, bring your photos.
Yeah, sometimes, or tell the stories. Like let us in on what you just experienced so that we can learn and have a little bit of that experience too. And he said that like why that was so important, the trip reports and that time in that check-in was because everything that came after that was built on that relational foundation that was built in that sharing. And so you're sharing your family, your memories, what matters to you, what you experienced. So, and it wasn't all highs, it'd be highs and lows, but that relational time at the beginning of the meeting greased the wheels to do whatever business that they were there to do. And then he talked about the one-on-one meetings. And I love that. I think my experience, what I see is companies that do great one-to-one meetings do everything else well. Companies that are struggling to do a lot of things don't even have one-to-one meetings, and maybe they have like annual performance reviews or something like that, something super sterile. So, we teach this idea of like a quarterly healthy fit conversation and one-on-one meetings like that. I was like, to see somebody of that stature, put it that boldly, like get that right. Because if you get that right, you're getting the feedback, you're getting the accountability to start doing all of the other things well. I'm curious, does that surprise you like as much as it did me?
I mean, yeah, in one way, it's like, well, when you said it, I thought, well, of course, because this is the world we live in. But I think if I didn't experience this in the way that we do it with teens with the weekly sync and our healthy fit conversations, I would be surprised by that because you would think it'd be a bigger idea. But it reminds me of when you said that, it made me think of oh my gosh, what's his name? John Wooden. This is a basketball coach, and he used to. There's a famous story about have his players practice putting their socks and shoes on.
Yes. Yep. Learning how to tie their shoes, right?
Yeah, and it's like if you don't put your socks on right, then your socks are wrinkled in your shoe. As you're running around the court, you're gonna get blisters. You're gonna get blisters, and then you're gonna have to sit out practice. You're gonna sit out practice, and then you're gonna sit out games. And he just had this very microscopic view of we have to do the little things right in order to do the big things well. And that's what that reminds me of. But I think
That's so astute because look at this. He was a football coach for most of his career, and then just happened. I can't remember how he got into the situation, but he was a football coach at heart.
I think it's the principle of you got to do the 101 to do the 201 to do the 301.
Absolutely, yeah.
And I think it's hard to do. I will say what's fascinating. It's kind of funny to me. Everyone who is watching, I've been trying to give Benj a hard time when we haven't been on camera, so I'm about to give you a hard time while we are on camera. But
perfect.
It's funny. It's funny to me that that you say that you brought this up about meetings, because I think sometimes when we're meeting, because you are so visionary and you come in with you are so ready sometimes to just get to the important conversation of what do we need to hit today, or what ideas can you and I brainstorm. And so sometimes we have to and I think we both get in that mode where we're oh, we've got a huge list. We've got big stuff. We're either excited or we're we've got to deal with this issue. And so to stop and be how was your weekend? Yeah. Where did you go? It's that's hard to do sometimes, especially when you've got a lot going on. I think we all have a lot going on. But
so I mean, that's part of why I resonate so strongly with what we do, is because I need systems to compensate for my innate behavior.
Wow.
The structure, if you said, are the relationships important to you? Yes. If I show up and go straight into the let's solve this and this and this and this, and I have no idea what you're dealing with, that's a fail in my mind. But that's what my nature would probably do. So that's why what we do is so important, is because we put some of these structures in place so that we can show up the way we want to, or the way that we're wired to, and make sure we're prioritizing the things that we need to be prioritizing.
It's really profound to me that you're saying that, because I think we're creating systems to protect the things that matter most. We're not just creating systems for the sake of systems, because I know that
100%.
For you're avoid that like the plague. We don't need to just create structures for the sake of structures. We're creating structures for the things that matter. And I think that's what's profound about what you're saying and how you perceive this kind of thing. But also when we think about doing the 101 and the basics, it's creating structures to the things that are going to matter most, not just anything we can think of.
Yeah. When people think about creating systems, they think about business performance, but we also create systems to protect the soul. Anyway, so smart guy, did a lot of good, made a lot of impact, preaching what we're preaching. Start with those 101s. Your 101s are everything. It starts there. What do you got today, McKenzie?
Well, before we get into what I've got, you guys, if you struggle with some of this 101 stuff, we've got a few resources we'll drop in the show notes. We've got one guide for how to have your weekly sync meeting. So if you want to check that out, that can be a great place to start with some of the basics of connecting first, hitting the right things, having the right conversations every week, and just really protecting what matters most. So check that out in the show notes. We also have a guide for what we call the 5 unspoken conversations. And so this will be a great way to, again, look at all the key structures of your organization and really ask some questions around how we're managing it, how we're protecting what matters most. So check those things out. And Yeah, so I wanna talk about one of my favorite people on the planet. I'm both scared of her and love her for who she is. Scared of her because she is a powerful woman, and she says things with conviction in a way that I strive to do, but, so this is Leila Hormozi. If you don't know Leila Hormozi, she and her husband, Alex Hormozi, are pretty well known in the sales and marketing space. But they've bought and sold several businesses, and now they have a company called acquisition.com where they are investing in and acquiring all kinds of businesses and running them based on what they've learned over the years of running successful companies. So she has this awesome podcast, Build, that I listen to all the time when I'm out walking and jogging. And this one really stood out to me. And Benj gets about every Leila Hormozi quote that I could possibly share. He's the person who hears about this the most. But if you haven't heard from Leila, so she's the CEO of acquisition.com. She's running this business. And the context for this little clip that I want to play you, she and their company, they are in the hundreds of millions of dollar range at this point, and they're really moving from this, like, it's like stage 2 to stage 3. So they're moving from this like very central founder led organization to having processes, having structure, having more maturity in how they run so that they can continue to perform and can continue to pursue new opportunities. So she's like kind of confessionally describing this for herself because she's kind of been the center of gravity for this business. And now they're moving into what she's calling like a 3.0 stage where she's really trying to create some maturity and structure around the business. So I'm going to play this clip, and then Benj, I have 2 questions for you around this.
Oh, okay.
3.0, because we've had version 1.0, we've had version 2.0, but now we're taking it to acquisition.com 3.0. And I said, I love that as like a theme to talk to. And I actually really want to write that in the newsletter this week. And so after I was writing it, I was like, man, I think a lot more people need to hear this and we need to talk about it more, because the biggest thing that I realized when I was building my first business is I remember reading the stat that said that only 5% of people that are in year 1 of a company are going to make it to year 5 when it's a fast growth company. And I remember reading that stat and being like, what? Holy crap. Like, does anyone know this? And rather than hold that knowledge to myself and be like, oh gosh, like who's going to be here by year 5, I was like, I'm going to tell my whole company, because like, I want them here. I love these people. They're amazing. But I also want them to know what we're up against, which is like, I also need to earn my right to be here by year 5, because I'm not evolving and I'm not changing how I operate. And I'm not going to be able to see the company to success. And so if you're building a company right now, and maybe you're at the point where you got past initial product market fit, maybe you're past the point where you have 1 leadership team, but you have 2, maybe you're past the point where you working harder is yielding any sort of result in your business. It doesn't really matter what phase you're at. I think it's really important that we all understand and message this to our teams.
You want to listen to the rest of the episode? No, just kidding. Okay, I have 2 questions based on what she said there. One, I want to ask you what you think about this 5% idea. Like the idea that at any point as a business moves from one stage to another, there's a very small percentage of people who are going to be coming along for that journey. So that's my first question is, what do you think of that? Do you agree with it? If you do, why do you think that'd be true or not true? And my second question for you is, what do you think about her talking to her team about this? So she said she had this knowledge. She heard this stat. It affected her in a way. It kind of like solidified some thinking for her. And then she went and had I'm assuming it's like some kind of like meeting, an all hands meeting where she's like, hey, this is where we're headed. This is what it needs to look like. This is how we have to level up. I'm curious what you think about that leadership. And even if you do think it's a good idea, how could that be done well? But let's start with the first question.
Yeah. So the stat is a little tricky because right now, I don't know about internationally, but right now in the United States, the average employee tenure is only 4 years. So take out the fast growth piece And unless you have a phenomenal culture and upward mobility for people, the chances that you beat that 5-year timeline are small, no matter what. So this is a case to invest in your culture.
Yeah.
The high growth creates upward mobility, which is one of the reasons that it's really important. But that stat does not surprise me at all. In fact, I think it's probably a little understated. If you're in a high growth company,
Yeah.
I bet it's if 5% make it. Yeah, absolutely. Because what you sign up for day one is not what's needed in year 3, 4, 5. And if you're not a continual improvement animal, then you're going to be there. You're going to show up. You're going to do the 9 to 5, and that's not what the company needs 3 years from now. Is that exact role?
Yeah. The impetus to change is going to be huge, whether it's high growth or whether it's high growth or a more moderate acceleration of a company. It's going to require some kind of bias to change, bias to action, bias to leaning in rather than leaning out. So, from my perspective, just looking at our team, it's like I kind of had the same reaction that she did, thinking about where they started and where they're headed. And it's like, oh my gosh, if we're going to get to where we want to go, we're all going to have to level up. What does that look like? What are the 5% doing that get them to the next stage?
Yeah. Yeah. And I've got a client right now who has had a very, very great employee, great culture fit, great performer. And the company's now at a place where that role actually looks totally different. And it's not even like a level up, it's like a totally different. And so that person who is, zero demerits against them
Yeah.
is probably going to get a new boss because they're not doing their job, but there's a new job needed at a larger, higher level that just requires experience, and it's not even something that you can level up. But I do think that, like, one of the things that you see, Leila's obviously in this, but most founders are in this self-improvement game. They're in it personally, they're in it with their health and fitness, they're in it with their relationships, they're in it with their business. And that's probably the key differentiator I see between high performers and people that punch clocks is people that want to perform. So they're trying to get better. They're trying to figure out how they can use AI to enhance their work, to make, their work more efficient, all these things. And then you've got the people that just, they're okay just doing their job. And those people are either going to have to find a new job or be okay getting new bosses and new bosses and new bosses. And, potentially their AIs, those are the people that AI is going to take their job if they don't learn how to adapt and grow and be what the company needs for them to be in the future, not what they needed in the past.
Yeah. I mean,
your second question is really interesting about asking, like, do you talk about it with the team? I say absolutely. I think, telling people what it takes to win at your organization is super dignifying.
do you think really quick question to add to that. Is there, because I would agree with you. Like, I think it's phenomenal that she's like, hey, let me go and reset the bar. But do you think there's maybe a way that could be done that could create fear that is almost like ineffective or create sideways energy in a business if that's not done super well? And then how would you do it well?
Absolutely. I mean, the first thing, it's really nuanced. How would I do it? But I would have to take some time to think about it. But the first thing's to let them know, like, I'm telling you because I want you here.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you because I want you to fail or I'm about to pull some trigger on you. We have, like, everything's changing, especially right now. This is super relevant. She's talking about the evolution of her company from a size, but we're also in a market space right now where there's so many shifts with technology happening, energy, like, just everything's kind of converging to where every company has to be different a year from now than we are right now. And people need to kind of sign up for that. They can't be forced on them. So we're recruiting. It's more of a recruiting conversation. I want you to be here. I want you to bring your best. And I need you to invest in yourself, not just need handheld to us to tell you what you need to be better at. You need to look at your role, look at your skills, look at your weaknesses, and you need to make a plan. I'm glad to partner with you. Like, hey, let's talk about it. But you've got to be the one. It can't be from me, forced on you. It can't be organizational. It's like this is an individual. This is where the individuals show up to play the team game.
Yeah. I think about just as we're all in the AI game right now, trying to figure out where is it going? Where can we use it in our business? Where can we use it to automate things? And that's everyone on our team. We literally spend time like upskilling as a team. But before we got to the point where it was a habit of ours to make that an expectation and work on it together, I had this realization, like this is the other side of what you're saying is as a leader, I realized I'm not dignifying my team if I don't tell them this is coming, this is required. We have to do this. If you don't do this, I'm not helping you in this job or any other job that you will ever have. And when that dawned on me, I'm like, I can't sit on this. Like I will look back and feel like I didn't serve my team well if I don't set the clear picture of the future for them so that they can move towards it in the right way.
I'll give you a very tangible, like what this looks like. So I might have a information addiction. I don't know, but I tend to find lots of tools or tips or tricks, whatever. So I'm constantly sharing these with different teams. And a lot of times it's like you share it and it's silence. And I think to some people it's like, oh, I'd have to learn something new. I'd have to figure something new out. I'd have to tinker it. I'm like, I just gave you a cheat code that if we figure this out, we unlock all this other stuff and it'll just be silence. And the other thing that happens is like I'll be the only one sharing, or there's 2 or 3 people sharing and there's 20 people not sharing. And I'm like, you're either not sharing or you're not learning anything new. And so like you're maybe absorbing what I'm sharing with you, but you're not pulling in information, ideas, inspiration that could help this business, help yourself, help each other. And so like there's this information sharing game. Like you shared this podcast with me, like, and it's rare you'd make me listen to a whole podcast episode, so it must be a good one, right? But like little clips or tools or tricks, and like if you can create like a sharing economy of these things, like nothing makes me happier than when somebody on my team like brings a new tool, or even better, brings a new tool and have already experimented with how we can use it and make us better, or even taken something that I've shared and say, I'm going to hunt this down and I'll bring you back whether we can use it or not. Like that makes me so happy because a lot of times I don't know all the ins and outs at the lower level of their exact, job and whatever it is, technology or process or whatever. But in my mind, there's a connection here. It may be right. It might be wrong. But for somebody to go, man, I'm going to take that and hunt it down. Like that's a good sign to me. And then people sharing, people commenting like on any of this, ideas, tips, tricks, quotes, any of it. That creates the environment of like, hey, we're all working to get better.
Yeah. It's like you've described 2 attributes of the 5%. It's the people who are they're growth oriented. Like they're going to evolve and grow no matter what because they want to perform, they want to improve. They have that, and like you said, it shows up everywhere in their life. So you see that when you talk to them about what they're trying to pursue, what they're reading, what they're listening to, conversations they have with their spouse or whatever it may be. They have that kind of bias to growth and performance. And then you just described what I think is a curiosity. Like they have this attribute of pure curiosity. They're willing to explore. They're willing to consider new ways to do something. They can hold the way that something is done loosely enough that they could look into what you've described as like a new tool or a new method, a new pathway.
Yeah.
And so I think those 2 things, I mean, it's defined for me two attributes of any teammate to consider as we are, I mean, for any stage of business, at any season of business, but considering those people as we are trying to grow and who can kind of come along for the ride.
Yeah. So good. Nice little recap right there. We are going to focus on our one-to-one team meetings, add in that relational time, make sure we're connecting, and encourage our team to be working on self-improvement with a nice little nudge of it's now a required skill set in any organization. So good job. Fist bumps helps us put on this show. They're great partners for us, editors, producers, get it all out, do all the things that we don't know how to do or don't want to do, as well as coaching us along the way. So really, really appreciate them. If you're looking for somebody, reach out to them or reach out to us and we'll put you in touch. And until next week, we will see you back in the